6 o'clock. The Board of Trustees, the Brenham Independent School District, is now convened. I wish to extend a warm welcome to everyone present. In collaboration with our families and community, Brenham ISD is committed to providing an exceptional education for all students in a safe environment. As the Brenham ISD Board of Trustees, we are here to provide local citizen governance and oversight. The management and day-to-day operations of the district are the responsibility of the superintendent. This is a public meeting of the Board of Trustees. School board meetings are open to all who wish to attend and hear the matters discussed. Audience participation is limited to the public comment portion of the meeting. These proceedings are recorded, and I respectfully ask that you please refrain from talking while others are speaking. Thank you for taking the time this evening to join us and for your interest in the Brenham Independent School District. At this time, I will lead us in the pledge. Kyle Hafter will lead us in the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Bow your heads for me. Dear Lord, we thank you for bringing us together this evening, serve our community. We ask for your guidance, wisdom, and clarity as we make decisions that impact the students, the teachers, and families. Help us to listen with respect, speak with kindness, and act with integrity. May everything we do tonight reflect care and unity for the good of all. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Kyle. The public comment portion of the meeting is an opportunity for citizens to address the board, to make comments to the board. In accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, the board will only listen without comment. Specific factual information and resuscitation of existing policy may be furnished in response to inquiries, but the board may not deliberate, discuss, or make any decision on any subject not on the agenda. No presentation shall exceed 3 minutes. Delegations of more than 5 people shall appoint one spokesperson. Persons must identify themselves and the groups they represent at the beginning of each presentation. Persons who wish to participate in this portion of the meeting should have signed up with the preceding officer or designee before the meeting began. Presentations and language should be appropriate for all audiences. The allotted time will be displayed on the screen. Please stop speaking when the time runs out. Thank you for taking time to address the board this evening and respecting the district's policies and procedures. And we did have one, Miss Katie Birch, to discuss the bond and the Vader.
All right. Can you hear me? Okay. Thank y'all. My name is Katie Birch. My husband and I live here in Brenham. We own Plan North Architectural Company, and we are longtime advocates and supporters of Brenham ISD. I served on the 50-person strategic committee that went on throughout the spring and summer. And I was part of a group of 50 people who saw the district's challenges and opportunities very, very differently. And throughout that group, that time period with that group, superintendent asked us what did we agree on, which turned out to be a very difficult question, as it turns out. We agreed on 3 things, which you guys know I've come up here and presented it before. We agreed that we were very much in support of a $39 million capital improvement bond, which is early voting started today, obviously, and a Vader, which would support our teacher pay and allow us to bring those classroom ratios down and support programs for the teachers and students. So I just wanted to come up here and tell you guys thank you. Early voting started today. It's kind of game time for all of us. We're very, very passionate about this. We're very excited. And I'm so excited to be here tonight with all these kids. Like, it's such a great night to be here because there's so many kids being recognized, and we're proud of them. That's the reason why we do this. So I want to encourage the community to go vote for the bond and the Vader. We've done so much homework on this. If you're a details person and you want to ask questions, we have so many questions and answers on our website and a million other places. We've been to a lot of groups to visit with them. If we didn't make it out to your group, we still can. And it's not because we didn't want to. It's because it's a small town and there's a lot going on. So I think we made it to everyone who wanted us to be there, and we've still got time. So Thank you, guys. Thank you to this board, really for opening the door for the community. I just really appreciate the chance to get involved, and we want to encourage a for vote for the bond and the Vader for the community. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Katie. Okay, next we have the campus spotlight. The Brenham Junior High Principal Jillian Wilkie will recognize our Spotlight Student Employees of the Month.
Have to turn it on. We didn't have these fancy ones in the past. Superintendent Gillentine, President Krennick, and members of the board, thank you for your time and for allowing Brenham Junior High to recognize some of our incredible students, staff, and members of our school this evening. Tonight we're going to start with our Student of the Month, Esther Marshall. Here are some of the things the teachers at Brenham Junior High have to say about you. Esther always approaches her teachers with respect and kindness. She is helpful, caring, and greets every person with a smile. Whenever we observe her in class, she continually puts forth her best effort to make good grades and get her work done, no matter how difficult it is. At BJH, we're so proud of the work she has put in so far this year. Congratulations, Esther. I'll clap. All right. Next up is our paraprofessional of the month, Ms. Lujan, whom I stole from Krause. Thank you, Ms. Lujan. Ms. Lujan has established a routine for our ISS students. She promptly notifies us when a student is placed so that she can get all of their assigned work. Ms. Lujan is doing an amazing job because she is patient and enforces the expectations of the room. She always strives to ensure their work is completed and turned in on time. Not only is she a rock star in ISS, but she is also always willing to make phone calls to our bilingual families, and she never complains. We love you, Ms. Lujan. Last but not least is our Teacher of the Month. Thank you for showing up. He drives from College Station every day to Brenham. This teacher is new to Brenham Junior High, but not new to teaching. His peers say that he displays unwavering dedication, positivity, and has a significant impact on students and colleagues. Whether it's through one-on-one support or simply showing patience and kindness each day, Mr. Briles brings out the best in everyone. According to our staff, these are merely a few things that make him worthy of this recognition, and I would have to agree. BJH Teacher of the Month is Mr. Mark Briles. Oh, of course. Okay, you have your picture made. Go get your picture made. Come on, you can do it.
Okay, next I would like to invite Miss Angela Moore to come up to talk about our BISD Special Olympic swimming participants.
Hello, I'm Angela Moore, and these fine young ladies and gentlemen are part of our Special Olympic swim team. This was our 5th season that we competed in, and we've hosted it 5 years. We started in 2018. We have some unified partners that swam on the relays with our teammates. We have Sydney Moore, Katie, Cooper. Where'd he go? Josh is sitting back there. He was on the swim team relay. So we have Trenton, we have Nye, Jing, Langston, Will, Max Wheaton, and Ava Spa, representing for our Brenham ISD Special Olympic swim team. And our coach, she didn't come up, but our coach, Kelsey Toy, with the Aquatic Center, has been gracious and helped us with it since I'm not comfortable with swimming and teaching it. So she coaches and I assist her on all that. So thank you for having us. We appreciate it.
Hey, I just want to say one thing. I've heard how long and how hard these athletes have worked to get to this point, and just want to congratulate you. That's a lot of dedication, a lot of self-discipline, and you guys are someone for us to look up to. So, guys, great job, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm going to give them a second to clear out. And just like that, the room is empty. So okay, next, our Chief Communication and Community Engagement Officer, Brooke Trahan, will present information regarding a donation of art supplies.
Good evening, members of the board. This month we bring you a donation from Paint Warehouse for Mr. Robbie Collins. Currently, it's upwards of $4,000, and that's why I say currently, because he's just been so incredibly generous. Like our art educators, our theater teachers, all kind of put in requests when he reached out to the district. And then once they kind of saw what they were working with, Mr. Henry brought back a truckload. They were like, oh my gosh, we could do more with this. So they called him back up, and he was like, yeah, look, come get some more. So currently, we're up to over $4,000 in in-kind donations through plaster for ready mix and the pre-mix, which have a lot of applications in the education world. So it is to formally accept the donation to the school district on his behalf. Would you like to say a few words? Nope. Okay. So
I would like to make a motion to approve a donation from Paint Warehouse Brenham via Robbie Collins in excess of $4,000 in plaster dry mix and ready-use material to benefit Brenham ISD Fine Arts Department as presented.
I second that. Sorry.
Okay, Archer has made a motion, seconded by Bonnie Brinkmeyer, to approve a donation from Paint Warehouse Brenham via Robbie Collins in excess of $4,000 in plaster dry mix and ready-use materials to benefit the Brenham ISD Fine Arts Department as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Collins. Okay, next is a public hearing on the annual School First Financial Accountability Rating for the Brenham ISD, and Chief Financial Officer Daryl St. Clair will present this.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. Just a couple of things I'd like to point out before we actually start going through the actual indicators and the data. Keep in mind this is the 24-25 report, but it's based on the 2023-2024 and in some cases slightly earlier than that data. There are some indicators that actually average data from even before the 23-24 school year. So keep in mind this is not actual data or results of the data from the fiscal year and the school year we just finished but a year ago. So with that in mind, we'll start going through the different indicators. There are about 20 of them. There really weren't any changes from this time last year when I presented this report to this year. So the indicators basically stayed fixed for the last year. There are several that are simply yes or no, and then there are several that have a point scale anywhere from 0 to 10 points. I think there's a couple of them that are 5 points, but it's a range of different types of indicators and different scores that we receive. All right, so to the first indicator. The first one was the complete annual financial report, AFR, and data submitted to TEA within 30 days of November 27th or January 28th, depending on the deadline for the fiscal year. Since we're in August 31st fiscal year, our deadline was January the 28th, and we did submit our data in time. It was received in time, and so we just get a yes, which is full credit for that one. That's just a yes or a no. Second indicator wants to know if the district basically received an unmodified opinion on its AFR from the independent auditor. Again, that's just a yes or no. And an unmodified opinion, as I know you've heard the auditors point out before when they actually do the presentation to you, is what a district wants to have. We do not want to have a modified opinion. We want an unmodified, and that is what the district received for 23-24. So we got a yes on that one, which was full credit. Third indicator, were we in compliance with the terms of our debt agreements at fiscal year end? Again, this is a measure that, or information that the auditor reviews during the audit process to determine whether or not we have met our obligations, paid our debts on time for whatever leases or contracts we have, and we did meet all of those obligations in a timely manner, so we got a yes on that one as well. Indicator number 4, same basic concept as number 3, but this time more focused on Teacher Retirement System, TRS, Texas Workforce Commission, Internal Revenue Service, other government agencies. Basically, did we fulfill our obligations, make our payments in a timely manner to all these agencies? And again, the answer is yes, we did, so we receive full credit on that indicator. Any questions so far? Okay, well, we got one more here, number 5, at least the next one for sure. The total net position. Was the total net position in governmental activities in the statement of net position greater than 0? This is a calculation that, again, is done in our audit report each year, and there is a very specific page in the audit book. It's usually near the beginning of the book where this calculation is done, and then there are other factors that are also put in there. For example, our net pension liability. There are some liabilities that count against us, but which we really don't have a lot of control, specifically the net pension liability. In other words, the debt or the liability that we have when teachers or employees retire and become active members of TRS. And so that's added back to not hold us responsible. And so once all those calculations are done, our total was over 25 million, so definitely much greater than 0. So again, we get, this one's called ceiling passed. So it's just a yes or no, but it also is a ceiling indicator, meaning if we had not passed this, there would be a ceiling that we could not have achieved a score above a certain level overall, regardless of whatever else we might have answered correctly or had correct answers for, good answers for. All right, moving on to number 6. What was the average change in assigned and unassigned fund balance over 3 years? Was it less than a 25% decrease? So in other words, did it not decrease more than 25%? And unfortunately it did. Ours actually was about 34% when you go back and calculate it. I'm pretty sure that none of you would be terribly startled or surprised at that, knowing the last few years of budgets that we've had. And again, this is a 3-year average, and so the 3 years that are being considered are 21-22, 22-23, and now 23-24. We did pass this last year, but last year we would have had 2021 up to 22-23, and 2021 was a year without a deficit budget. So that was actually helping us, but since we're only looking at 3 years, that one has now dropped off, and now we have these 3 years. So going forward, I expect that when we get together this time next year, I'm very hopeful that we'll have another good year in there, 24-25, and hopefully that'll bring us back up over the limit that we need. The other way you could pass this, if your fund balance had decreased too much, you could also have received full credit if your current year's assigned an unassigned fund balance, excuse me, no, that's the same one. Oh yes, if it exceeds 75 days of operational expenditures. Unfortunately, ours was not quite that high, as I know Mr. Archer has pointed out and a couple others have lately. It was about 26 days, so that definitely was not what we wanted, but again, we are working on fixing that. We've already worked on fixing that in the 24-25 year, and we're doing even more, hopefully, to fix that this year as well. So that should be on the rise from this point forward. All right, item number 7. Again, this is looking at days of cash on hand, so not fund balance specifically, but a similar calculation. And we needed to be able to have enough cash on hand to cover operating expenditures. That's current cash on hand and current investments. And unfortunately, again, we did not for full credit. This one is scaled from 0 to 10 points, and so we received 2 points. Basically, we needed to have about twice as much cash on hand as we did, and that would have given us a full score on that one, full count on that one. Okay, number 8 was the measure of current assets to current liabilities for the school year sufficient to cover short-term debt. And again, this is a scaled score between 0 and 10, and on this one we received 6 out of 10. We did actually have a reasonable amount of assets versus our current liabilities, but we need a little bit more to get full credit. We would have needed to have about $7 million more in assets, and that would have gotten us up to the full credit mark. The way they calculate it, they just look at a ratio. We had to get a ratio of at least 3, and ours was 2.14, so we were a little bit short on that one. Okay, number 9. Did the school district's general fund revenues equal or exceed expenditures? Well, as we just mentioned, we know we have recently adopted some deficit budgets, and we did in 23-24 as well. And so no, we did not have enough revenue to exceed our expenditures. There was another way to get credit on this one. And by the way, this is just all or nothing. It's 0 or 10. There's no scaled score. There's nothing in between. So the only other way to get full credit would be if our cash on hand was greater than or equal to 60 days, which we already saw in a previous item that it was not. It was about 41 days. So not terribly far from the mark, but far enough to not get credit for that. And unfortunately, that's a 0 or 10, so it's either all or nothing. Okay, indicator number 10, as I pointed out last year, they are currently not counting that one. They did not count it last year. They just give us the 10 points. It's on hold for future possibly reactivation, or they may choose in the future to delete it altogether, but right now they're using it as a placeholder. So nothing there really to report on indicator 10. Not part of the criteria this year. Number 11, the ratio of long-term liabilities to total assets. That needed to be calculated to support our determination of our long-term solvency. And so on this one, we did actually go up from last year. We got 8 last year. We went up to 10. Just by the skin of our teeth, we made the cutoff. The 10 needed to be less than or equal to 0.6, and ours was 0.5964. So last year we were just on the other side of 6.608. So we were able to improve just enough to get those other 2 points this time around. All right, indicator number 12. What is the correlation between future debt requirements and the district's assessed property value? So again, this is basically looking at not only our debt, but how does our debt stack up to our property values to be able to support that debt. And so last year we received full credit, and this year we received full credit once again. And I would like to point out to get the full 10 points, this is on a scaled score again, to get the full 10 points, the calculation that they did had to be less than or equal to 4, and ours was only 0.978, so which shows we do have the capacity for much more long-term debt than we're currently facing, which, as we've been discussing things throughout this summer with our strategic planning committee and looking at the issues regarding the bond that's currently on the ballot, that's not really much of a surprise that we have the capability of additional bond debt without any issues. Okay, number 13 was the school district's administrative cost ratio equal to or less than the threshold. So for this, TEA has a chart. There's not really enough room to put the entire chart up there. But for a district our size, and it is grouped by the different sizes of districts, so for a district that has between 1,000 and 4,999, let's see, is that ADA, they expect us to have a ratio that's less than 0.11 to get full credit. And our ratio was 0.12. So again, very close to the full credit. We got 8 out of 10 on that one, but very close on that one as well. And actually that was an increase over last year. Last year we had 6 points out of 10.
Daryl, can you speak? Yes. Can you unpack that a little bit? What those costs could, could because of, and how you might be able to reclassify those costs to change that value there. Just strategically playing that game.
Yes, and we did talk about this last year. In fact, I had a note last year when I presented. I did tell you that I was very hopeful we would go up at least a couple of points, and we did. When I first got here, I realized that there were quite a few costs being categorized or coded to functions 21 and 41, mostly function 41, which is general administration. Those are the 2 functions that TEA reviews and marks those as your administrative costs. So basically indirect costs connected to educating children still, but indirectly, not directly. And so they compare those indirect expenses to the direct expenses, which mainly are functions 11, 12, and 13, I believe. And so that ratio is what they want to see, not being excessively high for the administrative or indirect costs that you have. So again, I did notice when I first got here that there were some things being coded to function 41 that really didn't belong in function 41, and so we've been working to recode those things and to reclassify those as appropriately as the code book that we get from TEA allows us to. And so I think that definitely has made a difference, and I'm not going to predict that we will definitely get the other 2 points next year, but I think there's a decent chance we might see another increase. But I certainly don't expect we'll go backwards anytime soon.
Are you finished with the recoding, or is there more to recode and more to look at?
I have definitely hit the most urgent areas. I would say, well, again, this is 23-24 data. I would say when we get to 24-25, there really shouldn't be anything out of place. But it's not just that. I mean, you may actually have legitimate costs that you can't recode to another function. I think we had, well, I know we had one that really stood out to me when I first got here was the copy machine lease. The entire copy machine lease for the entire district was in function 41. It was not broken down to the different campuses and the different functions that it should have been. So that was, to me, a huge hit. Also keep in mind we did have more administrative positions, payroll, in 23-24 than we did in 24-25. So that's going to be a significant reduction as well. So I wouldn't be a bit surprised if we get full credit next year. I just haven't sat down with the numbers to be able to really calculate that yet and see. We have a template we can use to kind of predict what our next first rating will be, and I will be trying to get that done before the year is over just to see where we should land. But okay, any other questions before we move on to number 14? All right. So indicator number 14, did the school district, I like how they phrase these, not have a 15% decline in the student to staff ratio over 3 years? So they look at, in this case, 21-22 student to staff ratio. They look at 23-24 student to staff ratio. They take the difference and they do a comparison to see, was it above or below 15%? That's the cutoff. And fortunately, ours was only 12%, so we were under the 15%, which is good because this is another 0 or 10. There's no scaled score. There's no in between. It's all or nothing. So we only had a 12% decline where we could have had up to a 15% and still receive full credit. Okay, number 15 is also not being evaluated this year. This one was worth 5 points. The other one they're not evaluating was worth 10. So we just got another 5 points like everybody else in the state because they're not actually evaluating this one at this time. Probably I would guess that probably this one will go back into the active column maybe in the next year or two. Okay, number 16. I know this is riveting information for a lot of you, but we are getting close to the end. There's only 21, so we'll have a few more to go. Number 16 did the comparison of public education information management systems, otherwise known as PEIMS. Did our PEIMS data have a variance of less than 3% compared to the actual audit book that the auditors prepared and that we submitted to TEA? And we absolutely did have less than 3%. I believe last year it was about 2/100ths. This year it was 0.09, so even a little bit less, meaning we had very, very, very little variance between what TEA saw in our PEIMS reports and what they saw in our audit book. And ideally, you would want them to be exactly 100% match, but we are about as close as you can get. There's always going to be a few things, just rounding errors, if nothing else. You're going to have a few of those. So I will commend the PEIMS department for being very precise and accurate with our reporting. Very, very close to 100% accuracy. Okay, it's not working. There we go. Number 17, this is another either pass or fail. Did the external auditor report that the annual financial report was free of instances of material weaknesses in internal controls over financial reporting and compliance for local, state, and federal funds, and free from substantial doubt about the school district's ability to continue as a going concern? In other words, this is very much related to the question earlier about did we receive an unmodified opinion. It's a little more specific in this case, but this is basically what the auditor sees and what they report. And as long as they said we did not have any instances of material weaknesses or controls, then we get full credit. It's like just a yes or a no. So we passed that one. No problems on that one. I think the battery in the remote's getting a little weak. Or am I hitting the wrong button? There we go. Maybe it's me. All right, number 18. Did the external independent auditor indicate that the annual financial report was free of any material non-compliance in relation to our grants, our contracts, laws related to local, state, or federal funds? And we got full credit on that. There were none of those items that were reported by our auditor to TEA. None of that was in our audit book, so full credit for that one. That was 10 points. Number 19, did the school district post the required financial information on its website in accordance with government code, local government code, Texas Education Code, and Texas Administrative Code? And we received full credit on that, 5 out of 5 points. We do have, I would say, in some cases, more than our required postings on our website, but definitely all the requirements are being met. Number 20, did the school district's administration and school board members discuss changes or the impact of local, state, and federal funding at a board meeting within 120 days before adopting a budget? So sometime in the 4 months before y'all adopt the budget towards the end of August, did we have a meeting, or at any of our meetings, did we discuss changes in law, local, state, federal funding? Property tax values is part of that as well. We probably discussed that almost ad nauseum in some cases, but yes, we have definitely discussed that, and we always make sure we try to keep the board fully informed when we get, especially into the summer, once we start getting certified values, even our preliminary values, and any legislative changes that are coming down the road. So yes, we did get full credit on that one. We better have, yes. And then our last indicator, did the school district receive an adjusted repayment schedule for more than one fiscal year due to over-allocation? We have received over-allocation. We have received more money from TEA than we actually have earned the last few years, but we have been aware of that. We have not spent that money, and so this is really not talking about just having an over-allocation. It's talking about getting overpaid and then asking TEA, can you please help us out, because now we're in trouble and we need you to adjust our payments going forward to help us not go under. And we have not had to have that conversation with TEA as far as I know at all. So there's no danger of that one being failed, and so we receive full credit on that one as well. No rescheduling our payments to help us through a hardship. And that was the last indicator. So the grand total of all the points that counted towards our score was 76. That is down a bit from last year. And the main factor, I think you probably have already noticed, is our cash on hand, which we are all aware that's an issue. And like I said, we've been working already through 24-25 to improve that, and we are continuing to work on that this current year as well. So again, I am quite certain that that score will be going up when we get to our 24-25 fiscal year report this time next year. Are there any other questions related to our first report?
No, it's hard to see once you put it in front of us like this, but we all kind of knew where we were going to be, and I can't wait to see the changes that this board has made in the district. You know, what Clay's been working on, what your team has been working on, the growth that we see, next year, and hopefully we continue to do that. So I think that's important for the community to know that we see it, we realize it, we're focused on it to increase this. So just continue the good work. We really appreciate everything. I know this has been a interesting couple years for school finance. So thank you. And like I said, let's hopefully next year we're doing a little applaud because we got up into hopefully a B. I can't promise, but I mean, thank you for the work.
You're welcome. Thank y'all for your support. Appreciate it.
Okay, next, head librarian Charlotte Polk will talk about the possible purchase of library books.
Okay, so I am coming before the board tonight to go over the first of a few this year of acquisitions for library books for our campus libraries. Information was sent to you, and the reason I'm having to come before you is because of Senate Bill 13 that was passed at the most recent state legislation and went into effect September 1st of this year. The process, basically librarians will send me their list of what they want. I go through the list, I vet all the particular library books, make sure that they meet our selection guidance that we use in the district that was policy, and then we post those lists for 30 days on our school website, and then it's open for public comment. Luckily, this particular list that we're looking at tonight had no reviews on it, no comments made on it. And then once that 30 days has ended, then the board is allowed to make a decision on whether to allow us to purchase those materials for libraries or not. I know it's kind of, I don't know if it's me or.
No, it's me. Can you walk us through the vetting process for the books whenever you get a list of them and what that looks like?
Okay, so
Welcome to our world.
So what I do typically is I'll look and see like what books are the kids asking for, or like I know there's a new book coming out in a series that is very popular and is never on the shelf. I take that information, I go to our vendors, I look for reviews, I look at the reviews that are sent out, I look at other information, I look at different librarians that I follow or that I know from going to conferences and presenting with and say like, hey, what are you getting for your campuses? I'll ask around, like, what's a good book? Like, if it's not something that we already have in the district, I kind of like read the reviews and say, hey, this is a new series. It looks like it would fit with the curriculum or what the teachers are working with, or it looks like something that the students would be interested in because of what they're already reading, to bring something new in and exciting. Then I go in and vet it by looking at and seeing, like, does it fit the criteria of what we have in our policy? And there are some books that were not on this list because they did not fit the criteria. So like on the list that y'all have, you can see that I've gone through and checked to make sure that it met board policy and matched with our selection guidance. So every single one of those books has been looked at by me more than once. So hours and hours have gone into vetting this list. A lot of interruptions with students coming in and things like that in between, having classes. But it's been gone over multiple times just to kind of make sure there's nothing, it doesn't violate the penal code, which is a huge, huge thing. We're in compliance with that with the books that are in there, so.
And all these are on the TEA approved list?
There is no TEA approved list.
There's a state?
There is, there's not really okay, so TEA had to come out with a reconsideration policy. So that came out at the end of August, so it could go into effect September 1st. But that's just for reconsiderations of like materials. There is no list that says we cannot purchase or can. That was originally, I think, under House Bill 900, but that part was kind of considered, there was a lawsuit, so some of that stuff has not come into play. So there is no magic list out there that says we can purchase this or cannot purchase this at this time. And we hopefully never, but anyway, yes.
Are parents aware of this, or do they just trust the librarians will take care of this?
If they're aware of the laws, like it's posted on our campus library sites, I try to have everything on there for transparency. Parents are getting emails sent to them every single day, like at 4 p.m. I think is when it rolls out, of everything that their child has checked in and out of the library, because that is also part of Senate Bill 13. So those things are all being put into place, so parents are aware of like what their students are reading. They also have the option, and it's to go into our catalog and access that with a parent access portal, and they can go in and block particular books they don't want their students to read. And same thing with our Sora online ebooks and audiobooks. They have a parent pen that they can use to go into their students' account, see what they're actually checked out, and they can also block them from actually being able to check out other books as well. So they have that control over what their students are reading and access to see what they are reading.
So parents can trust us with that?
Yes.
Thank you.
Quick question, Ms. Pope. So when it comes down to it, that's a lot of books to review by yourself. Is there a team that works with you, or are you kind of having to lean into that?
They kind of compile a list of what they want, and I have them send it to me, because if I'm going to come up in front of y'all, I want to make sure that it's vested. But they do work on the list themselves, and then I kind of go through and make sure. Now, some of the books are books that we already maybe have in the district, but because of how Senate Bill 13 is written, it's by ISBN number. It's not by the title and author. So we might have a copy of that book in our campuses under, like, say, a hardcover, but we want maybe the audiobook for a dyslexic student. So we have to then have you approve that particular copy so that we can get that particular one. So the ones I'm sending in, and this is kind of our practice list. It's not very big this year, this month. I'm putting all the ISBNs for hardcovers, library bound, paperback, audiobook, ebook, so that we don't have to come to you every single time we want a different version of that same text, because that's a waste of y'all's time.
Gotcha. So I have a question, again, just trying to understand, because the vetting process is a lot. So if you elementary ages or whatever, does it cap out, because books that would be appropriate for an age, as we're talking through the vetting
Yes,
side?
so it is.
How does that work?
It's level by campus. So we have in our selection guidance, which I think I'd given y'all access to in the particular thing, it talks about like at elementary, we're looking at books that if there are some that are titled, 4 through 6. So like at my campus, I'm a K through 4. So I need to look at those extremely carefully to make sure there's not something that's age inappropriate for my kids. So it is broken up by the different bands.
Does it make it challenging for kids who are trying to read up, or
Yes,
as far as access there?
it does.
Okay.
But I tell them, go to the public library or have your parents purchase them for you, because unfortunately I have to follow the law
go
and the
through it.
rules.
Got it. Thank you.
Any more questions?
You have to do public comment questions, though? This is technically a public hearing, right?
Yeah, do you have anything else, or does anybody have any questions? Thank you for the time you spent on making sure that you're vetting the books. We appreciate that. I know that's a lot, but we really do appreciate your time.
Thank you. I do it for the kids. They want to read, so.
That's really all I was gonna say is thank you, because I know that reading a lot of books is a lot of work, and that's a lot of books. So I really appreciate you vetting them and doing it. And on that note, I'd like to make a motion to approve the purchase of library books as presented.
Kyle Hafner has made a motion, seconded by Justin Colley, to approve the purchase of library books as presented. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you so much. Okay, next we have the superintendent's monthly update.
Yeah, thank you, Jared. Good evening to those listening to us out there. Gosh, we've got a lot going on this month, this week in particular. Early voting, again, as Katie spoke to during open comments, started today. We are a community, a board, a school community that absolutely encourages that civil right being taken and voting. So however you vote, get out there and vote. Also, homecoming week, celebrating 150 years. It's been a big celebration, of course, this year. I've got themed dress-up days going on all week long. The parade, if you have not let Brooke know, Debbie know, if you are in the parade, please let us know. What time do they need to be there? 5:30 Wednesday for the parade. Of course, homecoming game. Community engagement, Sean, the Boo Bash. I know since I've been here in Brenham, that's gotten more and more attention, so we were sure to shout that out. But that's Boys and Girls Club. That's become a big event here in the Brenham community, and we appreciate you putting that together. And we've definitely got on our things to watch. This time last year, as we were making a hard pivot with the budget, as Daryl indicated, I know that was stressed several times, but that's lagging data, and that markdown in the first rating was all due to fund balance that we are turning the other direction and quickly. But I say that to say, of course, this board had a huge focus, this administration had a huge focus on ADA, and I see that continues to trend upwards this year without even us having those public formal conversations about it, which is that expectation continues to grow and evolve. So I think our principals really hard for their really hard work there in that regard. One more plug for something coming up. Ambassador Academy starts tomorrow at 8:30. What time, Brooke? Ambassador Academy. 8:30. Look, I was right. 8:30 to noon. If you can be there, I think the last tab, but I know one of you at least. I said come by when you can come by, and we'll fit you in and give you a chance to say hello to the group. Okay. Archer needs to come in early, so I just said come by when you can come by. But if you can make it to Our second annual ambassador group kicks off tomorrow. Again, just a big plug for that. And those that might be interested next year, it's our own Brenham ISD leadership team that we got to start this past year that, of course, led to a strategic planning committee, which led to a group making a presentation to you, and then some of them moving on even into a PAC. So some of these might not know exactly what they're signing up for to be a part of this ambassador program. Honestly, we don't either. That's a very organic group that we let them work with us to take on this community endeavor of public education. That's all my comments for this evening.
Okay, next we have board member reports and comments. Archer, to start with you. Nothing? Right. So I wanted to make sure that I thanked Brenham Game Changers for the big event. If you were involved in that thing, that was a emotional, fantastic day that was just shocking to see how hard these kids work. I made a couple notes, and some of them, the theater group painted the court at Krause, but they did it playing theater music from Broadway next to the football team that was working on the playground. So the dynamic between the two was quite interesting, but it worked out really good. We had the Brenham Bells were power washing at Alton, which is, they had a blast with that. We had the soccer girls putting up sheets in hallways at Brenham Elementary School. Mr. Sean over here was getting down and dirty on demolition of an old bridge. Who else? We had the cheerleaders painted an awesome mural at the gym at the middle school, while there were other people outside planting trees. I cannot tell you how hard these kids dug in and worked. I mean, those girls, the soccer girls, gave up on the spatula and just started digging in with their hands to get the glue on the back of it. They were getting after it. So to anybody that's out here that heard this, thank y'all for the help. Thank you, Brenham Game Changers, for organizing that, for the district, for transportation, everybody that was involved. It was just absolutely unbelievable. So also, one more here, the baseball boys. There's an outdoor courtyard. If you get a chance to walk by it, those guys worked 6 hours pulling weeds and hauling in wheelbarrows full of dirt and gravel, and it looks amazing. So again, thank you to everybody that was involved in that. Thank you to the teachers, the principals, everybody that came out and supported. So anyway, I just really want to make sure everybody in the community knows how awesome of a day that was.
I don't have much to say, believe it or not, but I just was so impressed that we had so many of us pulling together. And I mean, it's so much more fun for the kids when they have their buddies with them, and it was so well organized, and everybody had an idea of what was going to be going on, but until you were there and saw it, it was incredible. So that's all I really had. But also, just a reminder, we all need to make sure we vote this week, next week, or November 4th. I should have known. Yes. Thank you.
Good job, Bonnie. That was under 45 seconds.
Somebody write this down.
I started knocking out some of my training as a new board member, so that's obviously a lot of fun. Sean and I are handling some of that stuff together. Excited about this week. Obviously, we've got some pep rallies going on tomorrow at the junior high. So Miss Wilkie, looking forward to what you guys have planned over there at the junior high tomorrow. It's a big week of volleyball. We have 2 more home game volleyball games at the high school. We've got some junior high volleyball going on Thursday night. Let's all celebrate our small thing going on. The football team is 7-0. So we went to Bryan last week and caught some of that football game. It was a lot of fun to watch those guys on the field. So junior high, let's not leave out JV and freshman football. I think they've got some winning records going on too. So we've got a good program and a lot of boys coming up, and they're putting in a lot of work, especially some hot days and some early mornings. So we haven't seen any relief from the weather just yet. But junior high's got some playoff and seeded games coming up in the next week, and then let's all go watch those cheerleaders cheer at those football games. So and then I'll see everybody at the homecoming parade on Wednesday. So a lot of things going on. It's obviously a busy week for everyone. Kids are obviously making memories, staff's making memories, so let's just continue to help them make their memories, and don't forget to vote. Thank you.
7th grade B team still undefeated also, just FYI. They're still haven't had a touchdown scored against them yet. They're killing it, just if you're looking for a game.
let me just jump off that. I have a unique seat to watch pre-athletics each and every week, and I see what's happening as we're building our athletic program. But what's been even better is listening to the character as the coaches are speaking into these young men and women, and the confidence. Having a middle schooler myself, watching her confidence grow because of the dedication. So the pre-athletics program, what it's doing, not just building our athletics, but also building the character of our kids. I think it's a great thing that's happening with our community. But also going onto the campuses and seeing the participation of our administrators, our teachers, for our Spirit Week, and just the all-in attitude, and just the pull together has just been really encouraging. And again, just going back to our unified athletes tonight, I love seeing them represent us so well across the district, and even on the day of the event, how well they just carried themselves with excellence. So it just makes us proud to be part of Brenham ISD and to be a Cub.
Okay, next, the Chief Academic Officer Sarah Bohart is going to present the campus and district improvement plans with the ability to update as needed.
Okay, while she's pulling the presentation up and looking for the clicker so I can click the slides for y'all, I'll just kind of share a little backdrop about the district improvement plan and campus improvement plan. So part of the district improvement plan and campus improvement plans has to do with the Every Student Succeeds Act under the United States Department of Ed. Through that, we receive funding. In order to allocate that funding, we have to show comprehensive needs and problem areas of practice that we then identify as a district and campus to work on. And so it's tied to that. We must annually develop and submit these improvement plans to board review and approval. I think also what's important to know is that the district improvement plan establishes a district framework for student achievement and overall system improvement, and then the campus improvement plans come right behind the district improvement plan. And so for tonight, I'm going to spend a couple minutes. You have, I think it's like a 68-page document uploaded if you were following me along in board book. So if you want to read all 68 pages, we worked really hard on it. But I'm just going to step out for a second and do some highlight overview for you, and then absolutely can answer questions. Does that sound good? Probably. Nope. All right, here we go. Wake up. Okay, so the first, I kind of share a little bit of a success for you. Part of this process is doing a comprehensive needs assessment. If you're following along with me in board book, under that needs assessment, you'll see there are pages and pages written and uploaded data. One thing that I found looking for some hope is that when you look at our overall achievement versus student growth, you'll see that our achievement for all students, this includes all kids, for reading and language arts, which would be meeting grade level, is a little above 40%. In math, it tracks the same. In growth, you see that we have about 64% of our students showing growth. So achievement is going to be how many are meeting grade level standard in masters. It's a state, you either passed it or didn't, right? Where growth is saying, did the student from 3rd grade to 4th grade maintain where they were or show growth, progress, right? Individual student growth. What we know is over time, growth will catch up with achievement. And so if you look at this data, although I know that our district received a C rating, I know that we are doing a lot of things I'm about to share with you systemically to help improve student outcomes for all kids. I think it's important to highlight, as we were reviewing data, the emphasis on growth, because eventually growth will catch achievement, right? So part of what we've really leaned into is leading together for instructional excellence this year, and these are our principals and Ms. Montez really working on instructional leadership. There's been a guiding question that we have used for every meeting and every PLC, professional learning with principals and instructional leaders, is how do we know that every student on our campus has access to a high quality teacher? We understand that it is the teacher that makes the difference, and that classroom research supports that. So this year we've really spent time building sustainable systems that are going to continually evaluate our instructional leadership, strengthen teacher practice, and improve student outcomes. Through that, if you see our principals, our assistant principals, our instructional coaches, the leading and learning team, this is everything we're trying to lift this year. We're elevating. A lot of these systems were in place, but we have elevated them. I'll go briefly over. So number one, K-12 literacy framework. Literacy is a need. I have a slide on literacy as well. We've worked very hard to understand what research-based instructional strategies are tied to literacy, and we're writing a district framework. We have elevated the teacher mentor program. So we have brought teachers in and trained them on how to actually mentor, looking at observation, feedback, and student work. Ongoing job-embedded professional development. We're using data to drive our practice. We have all the instructional materials that the school board has allowed us to purchase that is helping have good TEKS resource materials in front. We have a rigorous and robust educator evaluation system leaning into teacher incentive allotment. We've created PLC facilitators, mentors, instructional coaches, all as a way to have some teacher career pathways, and we're leading ongoing instructional leadership teams. And this is happening on the daily in our campuses. So here I'm going to kind of share with you a little bit. One of our performance objectives is tied to early literacy instruction. We have a pre-K goal in there as well, if you're following along with us on performance objectives and strategies. Some of our key strategies that we're using really have to do with this driven literacy practice, understanding what good pre-K through second grade literacy instruction looks like, and then helping provide observation feedback for our students, for our teachers tied to that. We know that early literacy proficiency in K2 is the strongest predictor of future success and long-term academic outcomes. And so we've put an intense focus on that and set a pretty rigorous goal for ourselves. That is actually a classroom this year of one of our teachers that is working through the HM8 structured literacy framework. So there's an objective and a strategy you'll find. So student achievement, I promised the principals this would never make social media, and it didn't make social media, it just made this. So we led a principal PLC once a month. We're working in conjunction with NIT, which is one of our approved providers. One of the first things we asked them to do when they got in, I guess this was our early September meeting, this was September, is we had them pretend they were actually with the media and that they were going to write a newspaper article for the media, and they had to come up with their headlines. And so they all, and we were there as well, so we all wrote something to celebrate. And what you can see in that is that our principals are engaged in doing the work daily and finding great success in how they're seeing their campuses transform with a focus on excellence. Student achievement, our objective is to raise our STAR Meets performance by 15 to 17 points across reading, math, science, and social studies. You can see our daily strategies are there, and we understand if we can get students on grade level, then that just has them a better future, a brighter success. Our special populations focus, you're going to hear from Ms. Montez a little bit later, and she's going to really dig into what TELPAS is, but it's another measure that they use for our accountability tied to our Spanish-speaking students and their ability to learn English in our school system. And then we also have our special education is really working hard on STAR growth and looking at growth over that achievement. Our key strategies are tied to Summit K-12, sheltered instruction, emergent bilingual high-yield strategies, systematic data monitoring, differentiated instruction, and integrated supports. What you'll see in this picture was last week, Ms. Thibodeau, during her teachers PLC time, took a whole team to compare, like we had district and campus representatives and teachers walking rooms looking for evidence of certain strategies that if a teacher is delivering will yield to student outcomes. Why this is important is because we're beginning to name what effective instruction looks like. we're beginning to talk the same language about delivery of instruction and identify key strategies. Once we all understand what the high yield effective strategies are, then teachers are able to reproduce that. So they actually were walking and learning together in classrooms. We have a college career and military readiness goal, which is really tied to our future readiness. So you can see we want to increase our CCMR. We have our key strategies there. We know that CCMR is our indicator to post-secondary opportunities, and it also reveals their future readiness. So I work with Travis Gonzalez, Principal Michael Watts, Head Lead Counselor Julie Haferkamp, Tracy Campbell. A whole team of us are working to ensure that is happening. Safety and culture, we're doing 100% compliance with school safety and standards, really working on that learning environment and positive expectations. So there's goals written about that. Teacher quality and retention. Our objective is to reduce teacher turnover by 10%, and then also to continue speak that language of T-test, which is their evaluation. And we want students to grow. We also want our system to grow capable teachers. So we're measuring that growth. We've strengthened our new teacher academy. This is our kickoff. This summer, a picture from our kickoff greeting our 0-year baby teachers that are their 0 years in teaching. We also are doing the teacher incentive allotment. And I think it's a rigorous process that's going to use student growth and their T-test to determine a teacher's effectiveness to see if they're eligible for an allotment. And that is a rigorous process that really looks at evaluation a different way. And we're also in our data capture year doing that. So student success hinges on that teacher effectiveness, and retention also will help stabilize our campuses, and it also helps just reduce all the effort of bringing new teachers in. I think you have your 0-year teachers, and then you have teachers also that come to us with different years of experience. This year, I want to say we had over 60 new teachers join Brenham ISD out of a total of like 400-something teachers. So it's really important that we have these systems in place to retain those teachers because we are pouring so much into their development. We want them to stay in Brenham. Here is this summer, again, having to do with our literacy. You'll see lots and lots of literacy goals in that dip. And it's really, this summer, a group of us, our first cohort, that went through training on research-based instructional strategies. We've written a vision statement so far in our framework, which really talks about building that community of confident, proficient readers and writers, and through our systematic and rigorous literacy instruction, grounded in those research-based instructional practices. And then we're also doing a lot of work on building a strong foundation in math. This is a picture I took last week of Principal Auget Alton, Assistant Principal Melota, and the instructional coach Christy Hensey with our NIET representative. Actually, they had walked rooms all morning. I joined them for the debrief, and they were calibrating on what does effective math instruction look like, and then determining what feedback to give to teachers to help those teachers grow in those capable skills. And then here's our kind of where we ended with our leadership. So I just kind of grabbed a couple performance objectives and several strategies to highlight for you out of that 68-page document. But there is a lot in there. We are working so hard. If you see this group of leading and learning and principals, it is every day, nonstop, with a focus really on improving those outcomes tied to building effective systems.
Thank you. Kind of some of the principals in the back, I'm looking at y'all. Have y'all seen a change in the classroom, the teachers, with the programs that Ms. Bellhart has kind of brought in? Is it a lot more aligned and uniformed across the grades? Okay, because that's kind of what we were lacking, right? Was
well, with H2IM, yes, but it's right now we're in the implementation phase of materials, and then we're working on instruction as well. So we have the materials now. We have to make sure the delivery of the materials is right, exactly where we want to be, which is why we're doing all these great things with Sarah.
Can you be louder? I can't hear you.
The reason I'm asking is because that's one of the things that we as a board have been saying. Like we have so much. The board has been trying to do in Clay and his cabinet and Sarah's team and everybody. And so I want to see the feedback from the principals. Like, yeah, it's getting better. We have the material. We're aligned. That's where we want to be. And that's what we want the community to understand too, is we see where we are and we have a vision for where we're going to be. And it's because of the things that we're doing, like this right here, that's going to get us there. We just have to continue to stay at it and not lose focus on it. So thank y'all for all the hard work that y'all been doing and countless hours of training and everything. It's a lot. I know. Thank y'all.
Yeah, no, thank you for bringing that up. I wanted to point it out as well. We spoke earlier to Daryl and about the fact that we had lagging data there, that we have actually turned the ship, if you will, 180 degrees, and feel great about the direction with our fund balance. It's very much the same conversation here. We feel so very confident in the direction we're going. The principals have heard me speak to this a couple of times lately. I know that in the near future we'll see the fruits of that labor. When you make an academic change, as we have, as hard as we pivoted, and in several areas, you don't just see the results of that overnight. You have to run that race for a little while before you start to see the results. So, yes, I feel very good about the conversations that the principals and Sarah and her entire instructional team are having, and feel great about where we're going to be this time next year.
Thank you so much, because it takes a leader to build leaders, and you've done such a great job. I think back to where we were just a few years ago and where we are heading now, and the fact that you've got so many on board. And we've got some pretty good principals too, and they work together, and I'm always impressed when I go on the campuses, because they're out there watching, going on, seeing what's going on and everything. And yeah, if we don't get these kids reading by second grade, it makes it that much harder as they grow up the ladder. But it seems like everybody is finally coming together and following each other and building something that we can be proud of, really. Yeah. Thank you very much. And your people, too. They're good.
No, there we go. Just a question. So this is a lot of addition, right? And so when you take something, and we already got a heavy load, so how has that worked as far as, have these replaced other things that have been in place? When we look at on the Elevate Excellence, looking at the circle, because a lot of our schools, our administrators, teachers, they have a lot on their plate. So is this replacing it? Is it refining it? How much is it adding to their plate in order to execute it? And maybe, is that clear what I'm asking?
I can speak, and then we certainly can let principals speak. We use the word elevate because PLCs were already in the district. The district has already invested years, I don't know how many, like 3 to 4, I'm not sure, in PLC. So what we have done is elevate that PLC in that we have a structure. There's steps to effective learning that we're using. There's teachers were teaching every day. Teachers just were doing it with teacher-created materials that they had created. That I will say, if I'm cooking you cookies in the kitchen from scratch, and let's say Miss Montez is cooking you cookies in the kitchen from scratch, our recipes may be very different, and mine might be delicious, and hers might not taste very good, right? Because we're all cooking in the kitchen from scratch. My cookies would be delicious. But anyway, I would say that to say teachers were doing the best they could with what they had, but there was not a coherent, vertically aligned instructional material that was at grade level. And so teachers were teaching every day, but now they have materials. The pain point is learning those materials. The pain point is shifting. This is our first year real focused on all the instructional materials, but last year we began as well. So I would say teachers are going to say it's overwhelming because they're having to learn those materials. We had a mentoring program before. Now we've just classified you have to spend 12 hours in the fall and 12 hours in the spring, and you have to, we've elevated the system because we needed to elevate the system. So I think we've had to get out of our comfort zones and all be willing to learn new things. These principals have led these initiatives just like champions and have been change agents and shift makers, making the shift happen. And without their support, we would be going nowhere. So they're instrumental. I don't know if they want to add to the list. Okay.
I want to say that it's not a magic bullet because we have these resources now, but they're not perfect either.
veteran teachers who are feeling like newbies because there's still a lot of extra time and a lot of internalization. So the lesson plan's there, but you still have to go through it. You have to own it. You have to understand it to figure out where your students are going to struggle or how you're going to scaffold this, because our kids have not been receiving on-level work in the past few years, and so it's a challenge for them every day. And I'm going to use your recipe analogy. My mom and I can follow the exact same recipe, and hers are going to be better. And so that's where we are right now as well. When we're doing those learning walks, it's because although our teachers now have the same recipe, the quality of the cook's not the same in every classroom.
It's
just
the
yet.
delivery. It's the delivery.
Just yet. So we're
yeah.
getting there. But
It's the delivery. Like it's,
we got a lot of work. We're doing
yeah.
every day, and every day we're getting better.
Every day.
We're working every day.
Yeah, because you can have the material, but if I don't know the effective practices on how to deliver them, the materials are not going to come off the page. And so we're working really hard. That's that language of practice. What does an effective teacher do? How do I recognize that move? And we're working hard with those learning walks. And so teachers are going to feel like, I was at Brenham Elementary today and had a conversation with Stephen. And part of it was, can I quote you a little bit? Is that okay? Part of his conversation had to do with for the last year and a half, there has been an intent focus on observation and feedback, on going into classrooms. And it's not to get the teacher, it's to perfect practice. Just like a coach is going to get out on the field and watch their player execute the play, but the coach has to watch that film. The coach has to see that play. The coach has to find where does that player need to put their shoulder in a different way before they make that hit. That is the same thing we're trying to do now with teaching. So it's an intense focus. I think to say if we keep our foot on the gas, and we continue to work together, we're not going to leave anybody behind. Everybody's going to go with us. We're all in this together, and we're going to get through it together. I think when we come out on the other side, we'll be pleasantly surprised.
Well, no, I just love that. I think you're getting the framework and the quality level that you're expecting, and so now everybody can just rise to that. So thanks for all that hard work. Appreciate it.
Two things. First of all, kind of want to tie into what Clay said, because I said it a while back at another meeting, probably a year ago, when you had just started implementing. I don't know if it was something different. Anyway, we knew that this was going to be a 2 to 3 year process, and I know we're a year and a half into it, and to turn a cruise ship around, it takes a lot of effort and a lot of work. So the principals are doing an amazing job, and so we have an amazing team. They're all very good. You are doing an amazing job, and all your team is there. So I said two things. So one, I know it's going to take a little bit more time to continue to right the ship, but it sounds like we're on the right track. And number two, it sounds like we need a cookie cook-off to decide which one makes better cookies, because I think we need a taste test.
Absolutely, we can do that. Cookie cook-off. Cookie cook-off.
One other thing I want to say is, principals, I'm so extremely proud of you guys, because I know how hard this process has been. It's learning a completely new playbook and being a freshman and going on the field and trying to find the right receiver and sometimes getting intercepted or fumbling or whatever it might be. So kudos to you guys. And then I want to say, one of the first conversations I ever had with Sarah after she was hired, she said to me, Archer, the most important thing is that we're all aligned in our instructional strategies. And I said, what does that mean? And she explained it to me. And now, a year and a half, almost 2 years down the road, I understand the importance. It's basically like before, one person was speaking Spanish and the other one was speaking Chinese. Now we're all learning to speak the same language and cook the same cookies, and that's a huge deal. So,
and they have to taste good.
Way to go. But that alignment is the biggest thing that you do, and it's so huge. So thank you for that.
Yes. I do think, too, just to say, our parents, those of you that are parents, I know are feeling some of this grade level material. One of the things the principal said was, before we had aligned instructional materials, students were not always receiving grade level material, right? And so our teachers are having to understand how to deliver high effective instruction, and then our materials as well. So we're all feeling it, right? Did you say
Okay.
something?
Does
Great
anybody
work.
else have anything?
Yeah,
We're going to talk about cookies, I can tell you.
more cookies. No. Great work. Keep it up. On that note, I'd like to make a motion to approve the campus and district improvement plans with the ability to update as needed.
Second.
I couldn't even talk.
Okay, Justin Colley made a motion, seconded by Kyle Hafner, to approve the campus and district improvement plans with the ability to update as needed. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for all the hard work. Okay, Mr. St. Clair is going to talk with us about approval of hail damage invoices from Parsons Roofing and Belfort Property Restoration.
All right, good evening again. Per our board policy, any expenses over the $35,000 mark do require board approval. And as you will recall, we had significant hail damage back at the end of May and significant repairs and water cleanup all throughout the summer, which is obviously well over the $35,000 mark. We have at this point in time received all but I believe one payment from TASB for our claims. There's one invoice that is still under review, but I believe probably in the next few days, later this week sometime, it's going to get approved. It's about a $1.2 million invoice that's pending. But outside of that, we have received all the other payments that we need to now turn around and pay to Belfort and to Parsons for the services they have rendered for us already. I did put in your board packet the grand total for the Belfort property restoration invoices right now that we have is $3,341,508.02. And the collective total of the Parsons roofing invoices that we have, which I believe should be the end of theirs, I don't believe there's any more Parsons roofing coming, is $324,515. So those are the two different amounts to the two different vendors that we're looking for approval, so we can go ahead and make payment to them and get this on our 24-25 books, as we have already started the audit last week, working with the auditors for the 24-25 school year, because these damages obviously were done in the previous year, and so we need to be sure to get these paid, get these on the books as previous year. And as I also pointed out in the board document, we've received everything that we're planning to pay out at this point, other than the roughly $117,000 deductible, which was outlined to you, I know, probably 2 or 3 meetings ago, maybe 3 meetings ago now. So outside of that, and then the one additional payment and invoice that'll be coming probably later this week, this should just about get us where we need to be for getting our payments made.
To make sure I heard you correctly, and to just get straight to the point, the total bottom line, what this is costing the district and how much is coming out of our fund balance is what number? I think you said
About
117,000.
yes.
Okay.
And fortunately, because of the reimbursement resolution that was passed earlier, we should be able to reclaim that.
In the bond thing.
Should
if-
we
yeah.
receive bond funds later, we can reclaim that even, so.
Go vote. Okay, does anybody have any more questions on this? Thank you for that one, Kyle. We will need to take action.
Make a motion for the payment invoice, Parsons Roof, Belfort Property Restoration, and hail damage repairs and consent.
Okay, Kelvin Raven made a motion, seconded by Kyle Hafner, to approve the payment invoices for Parsons Roofing and Belfort Property Restoration for hail damage repairs as presented. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Since you're up there, it's time for our monthly financial update.
Okay. All right, so we have our September information that we present here at the October meeting, and there'll be a couple of peculiarities I'll point out here when we get to them in a second, just because of this time of the year that we're at, this point of the year. So first of all, we have our budgeted and actual revenues received so far. We've budgeted a grand total of roughly $66 million in revenue for this year. Right now, we received about 10 million of that. We've got about 1.2 million in local and almost 9 million in our state payments so far. Just a reminder, you're probably getting kind of tired of me hearing me say this. We get basically 3 payments a year from TEA, our foundation school program. We received one in September. We'll get one towards the end of this month, and we will not get our 3rd and final one until next August. So by the time I report to you next month, we should have the bulk, probably about 70 to 80% of our total state revenue already in hand by the end of this month, which is good. That means we have that money set aside and ready to go. And of course, tax collections will start soon in the fall here. And so we'll be showing a lot more realized revenue once we get to the end of next month and then the coming next couple of months as well. We have our investment report, not a tremendous amount of change in the rates, although I believe they were, I didn't look at it before I left my office, but I'm pretty sure they were down about a 1/10 to maybe 0.15%, not much of a change from the previous month, still holding pretty steady at well over 4% at each of our investment pools. Again, probably some of the lowest balances you'll see. Like I just said, we'll be getting more state aid here later this month, and then once tax collections begin picking up, then we'll have a good bit more we can move over to those accounts. If those are still our higher interest-bearing accounts, we'll try to keep them there as long as we can to earn as much interest revenue as possible. And then finally, our tax collection report. This is one of the peculiarities I was mentioning. This is still the 2024 tax year data that you're seeing here. Typically, we see the switch from the old outgoing tax collection year to the new year in October. So normally next month you would start seeing the updated numbers as far as the levy collection amounts and so forth for the new year. However, that may be delayed possibly until we get to November. I'm not sure exactly. I get these reports at the end of the month, so I'll know when I get to the first week of November what has changed on the collection reports. But eventually, soon, we'll start seeing the actual 2025 tax levy data and collections. But for right now, this is still continuing to show increases to last year's collections.
Daryl, does that have anything to do with when the tax bills themselves are sent out? Because I know, like, I went to go, or my mom went to go pay her property taxes today, and the bills are not ready yet because of the November election.
Correct. That's what I've heard is the appraisal office is planning to wait until the election is over to make sure that they know exactly what the correct rate is that we need to be taxing our community on. They could be done sooner, they could have been sent out sooner, but then you run the risk of having refunds and possibly having incorrect information. So I think their plan is to wait until we know the exact outcomes of the election to make sure everything is correct the first time around. So yes, that's why I'm not sure that I'll have new data for you. I'm thinking I probably won't have new data and new reports for the current collection year probably until November, which means you'll see those in December, most likely. Any other questions or comments about our financial reports?
Thank you as usual.
Oh, sorry.
Wait, yeah, one more.
One more. I missed that one. So this is just our budgeted versus expended our expenses by function across the general fund, food service fund, and debt service fund, all three of those combined into this one report. Again, you'll notice that we have a pretty large budget compared to what we've actually spent, but one thing to keep in mind, and I think I pointed this out last year this time, those lovely August accruals that we have where we have to calculate and post on our outgoing books expenses, salary expenses for staff and employees who earn money in August but don't get paid their first new payment of the year till September, mainly teachers and aides. And so now we see the other side of that because now there's a credit being posted. So in most of the functions that have significant 10-month salary payroll, you would notice that the amounts are pretty low because we've got large credits being posted on top of the September payroll, but they're about the same amount, so it washes a lot of that expense out. So you'll see the expenses pick up more going forward from month to month as more than what it looks like right now. But other than that, things are proceeding pretty much normal with our expenses. Any questions about the expenses?
Thank you, Darrell.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you.
Next, we have the annual bilingual and ESL program report. The ESL bilingual coordinator, Sarah Montes, will present.
Good evening, members of the board. Like President Krennick said, this is the annual bilingual ESL program report required by TEA. I just wanted to give y'all a little bit of background about who our students are. I didn't realize I didn't. Oh, sorry, I didn't see the light. Who they are, how they're doing in their English proficiency journey, and then some of the things that we have planned for them and for our staff. Let me see which way I click this. Yep, there it goes. Okay, so our emergent bilingual students, they're not just students that are in the bilingual program. They're any students that we have in the district that speak more than one language and are not considered English proficient. So right now we have a total of 682 in the district across all 7 campuses. 440 of them are served in the ESL program, and 233 are served in our bilingual classes. And then we have just 9 students that are identified as emergent bilingual, but their parents denied participation in any of those services. So one of our programs that we offer here is the transitional bilingual early exit program. That means that instruction is delivered in both English and Spanish. The goal is, for them to develop their skills in both languages and be ready for all English instruction by about 3rd or 4th grade. That's taught by a certified bilingual teacher, and they're working in Spanish when they first start off, and then we transition them into English instruction. So something that one of my first projects that I worked on when I took this position was revamping of our bilingual program framework. There was a lot of talk of percentages and minutes and things like that, but we really needed something that was clear and coherent for the teachers and also included a logical progression to English. So on the framework that I have here, Spanish is coded in red, English is in blue, and so you can see that year to year, there's a little bit more in English, maybe about one subject area, so it's something clear and finite that's easy for teachers to follow. And of course, any of the years that show English in any of those subjects, bilingual teachers are able to give them support in their first language as well to make sure that they understand. We also offer English as a second language, ESL, and there's 2 different models of it, but really just the main difference between them is a content-based model would mean that any teacher that student sees within the instructional day is ESL certified. So like a 2nd grader, if they have 2 teachers that they see, both of them have that certification. A pull-out model would be a student that has at least their language arts teacher who's ESL certified. So imagine a high school student, once they get into having 8 different teachers, it's hard to make sure that every single one has that. As long as their language arts teacher is appropriately certified, then that would be considered a pull-out model. But in both of these models, the instruction is adapted for their language needs. So teachers who are certified in that way, they've been trained on strategies to use with those students. A lot of the bulk of what I wanted to talk to y'all about tonight is TELPAS, explaining what it is and how that affects our students, how they can show growth, and what that means for the district for accountability purposes. I know we talk a lot about STAR and how that affects accountability, but TELPAS is a part of that also that people often don't realize. So it is a test that the kids take. Any EB student, kindergarten through 12th grade, who's not considered English proficient yet, they take a language test. There's 2 parts to it in the spring. And there's one piece that tests listening and speaking in English, and then another that does reading and writing. So it's not a pass-fail test, but they're rated in each domain on a 4-level scale. So beginning, intermediate, advanced, and advanced high. And advanced high would mean that they're on level with a native English speaker. They also get a composite score that I'll talk a lot about in a little bit. That's kind of like their average. It's like their overall score. It's weighted a little more heavily on reading and writing, but that's kind of like their average. So any of those students who have not yet met the criteria to reclassify as no longer emergent bilingual will take TELPUS every spring. Even if they have denied participation in any of those programs, they still are required to take TELPUS. And the results, they do affect accountability, like I mentioned, in the academic growth domain and closing the gaps. So our EB students, between TELPUS and STAR, they hit us in a lot of places. So, it's important that they're successful, both academically and then in their linguistic journey. So just for an example too, because I learned better by seeing, like, what are you even talking about? What does TELPUS look like? I have an example of a writing prompt that a student would receive, and then also a listening prompt. So it's a little different from STAR in that not everything is text-based. They're not responding to text. A lot of it is sometimes opinion or responding to a picture like this and things like that. I also had an example of a speaking question and a reading question. Speaking is an area that's really tough, not because the kids aren't able to speak in English, but because they're testing with a microphone and having to record themselves. So there's a lot of logistical things, and they get shy when they have an audience around them. So that's an area that's usually kind of tough for them. The picture on the top is showing some of our junior high students. Something that I've implemented this year are the TELPUS talks. So I've started going around to different campuses and meeting with all the EB students and talking to them about what is TELPUS, why are you taking it, and explaining to them that there is a possible expiration date to this. You can test out of TELPUS. You don't have to do this forever and ever, which is a shock for a lot of them. They're like, oh, I didn't know that. So I've been giving that presentation to some of the campuses and then meeting with students, myself or LPAC administrators, to go over with them individually what did they do last year and what are their goals for this year. So that's some junior high students thinking hard about what they're going to do. Okay. This shows our TELPUS composite scores just across the entire district. And this was for the last test in the spring of 2025. So this is their average scores across all 7 campuses. We have the majority of our kids are kind of living in that intermediate and advanced area. And then in a little bit, I'll break down the different grade bands, like kind of what that looks like and how it changes as they move up.
Why would a student not receive a rating? I saw there was a little...
Oh, that's a good question.
No rating band?
So it would likely be because for some reason, maybe that student was absent on testing day and they were never pulled to make it up. So that's something that can happen. But I'm hoping for 100% participation because it's a window, so you're not going to miss that whole month. But thank you, that's a good question. So like Sarah mentioned, growth is a huge focus, especially for TELPUS, and this was our student growth last year. So it would be comparing their scores from the spring of 2024 to 2025. So we had a lot of students that stayed at the same level, 84 that moved up a level, and a couple that jumped up 2 levels. So that's pretty significant. But some things to consider, and I'll show you an example, are that staying at the same proficiency level composite score doesn't necessarily mean that they did not grow or improve. And I'll give you a really good example of it. Also, we have a high number of newcomers that have been coming into the district over the past few years. That's students that are in the U.S. for 3 years or less. And so their growth is going to be a little bit slower. That's to be expected. Oops, went the wrong way. Okay. Another thing that is a change in how growth is measured from years past to this year that I wanted to make sure that y'all were aware of, because it's a little bit different. And this affects our growth points that we're getting for accountability. So this is a sample student. Say that on last year or this year, same scenario. From in their listening domain, they grew 1 level. Speaking, they grew 1 level. Reading, bad test day, they dropped from advanced to a beginner. In writing, they stayed the same. Both years, their composite would still work out to be an intermediate. So in the past, like this last year and years before, we would still receive a growth point for those students because they grew in 2 domains, even though their composite didn't change. So a change that TEA has made for this year is the composite needs to move. So in that same scenario, we would not get a growth point for that student. So that's just a change to the way that they are counting growth that I just want to make sure that y'all were all aware of. And so I mentioned about how the composite score doesn't always quite tell the whole story of a student's growth. So there's 4 domains that are on the test. So imagine student A, their first year they have 2 beginner scores and 2 intermediates for an intermediate composite, okay? The next year, they improve in one area, 1 beginner, 3 intermediates, but they have the same composite, it didn't change. Third year, with this score, they still have an intermediate composite. So that student, you can see the progression that they've made and the growth they've made, although it's truly not reflected in their composite score. So that's a change that's been made, but it's something that I kind of wanted to have in the back of your mind so that when we get that data after this year, we're able to interpret it correctly. All right, within the grade bands, elementary, their composite scores, and that's across all 3 elementaries, look like this. We have a lot more in beginning and intermediate, but I wanted to, take into account that that includes kids in the bilingual program. So at that point, they've had 2, 3, 4 years of all Spanish language arts instruction. That's what we start with for language arts. So their English is still catching up to that. So I would expect to see lower composite scores at that age level. Then at the middle school and the junior high, we had a lot more kids shift to intermediate and advanced. So a lot of our longer term EBs, that's kind of the age range when we're starting to reclassify and exit from the program. High school, it kind of shifts back the other way, but if you notice when I've switched between them, the overall number of students is much less. Because at the high school level, a lot of those kids have already reclassified and exited. So the kids who are left taking TELPAS are newcomers who've been here for a shorter amount of time. So the ones that are still taking it are having a little bit lower scores. Reclassification means to exit the program. That means they're considered English proficient. And there's 2 things that students have to do that. They would not take TELPAS after they reclassify. They need to first receive advanced high composite score on their TELPAS test and then also pass their STAR reading. But if you got advanced high on TELPAS, you're very likely going to pass your STAR reading. I don't think I've seen one yet that didn't. So this year, I know I came in pretty late in the game. This needs to be done before the first day of school. So my LPAC administrators were very helpful in looking through different data points, and we were able to reclassify 30 students this year. So they will not be taking TELPAS anymore, and they're very happy about it. Our staffing, some things that we're doing to recruit and retain highly qualified teachers. Like Sarah said also, finding teachers in Texas is tough across the board, especially bilingual teachers. So some of the things that we're focusing our efforts on are growing our own people that we already have in the community, in the schools that have the capability and just need support to either finish their degree, take those tests and get certified and things like that. Checking in with them and supporting them in their certification. A big part of that is we have a ton of certification trainings that are available to them in different formats, some in person, online, self-paced, things like that. And we reimburse their test fees once they go and take their certification test. Waivers and exceptions. If we have teachers who are serving EB students and they don't have the appropriate certification, we have to apply for a waiver exception to TEA. So right now, for this school year, the current year, I'm looking at 5 bilingual exceptions and 23 ESL waivers. So for next year, going forward, I think a lot of this can be fixed with some more strategic student placement. if we have one ESL certified teacher, all the EB students need to be with that teacher. And those are some of the conversations I've had with principals, and also identifying teachers who are, who need to be become certified and looking at how to support them. So last year, there was one teacher in the district who took and passed her ESL certification test. This year, my goal is 4. We need to, the goal that TEA sets is to decrease your waivers by 25%. So that would be 7 less waivers for the following school year. So I think with being a little more strategic and then focusing on key teachers who are in language arts and English, that we can definitely meet that goal. Professional development highlights, I'm not going to read through every single one, but we have some trainings that are coming out soon for starting from me to our PLC facilitators that will be going to all campuses and all content areas that are about strategies to use with EB learners. There's a couple of conferences that teachers will be attending, and of course, like I mentioned, lots of certification support for people that are looking to do that. With my campus administrators, another thing I've implemented is are the monthly principal meetings. I told them, I'm sorry y'all are gonna get sick of hearing from me and me bugging you, but I think it's important to meet with them face to face and talk about things that are specific for their campuses, the student needs, staffing needs, and any events or things that are going on their specific campus. So far, as a result of these meetings, we have established ESL class at the middle school and also at the Brenham Junior High, a separate class where kids are able to work just on their English language development, and also at the high school, ELDA class, English Language Development and Acquisition, which has the same purpose. It's a class specifically for them to work on English acquisition apart from their content classes. And with that, we also have a dedicated curriculum that they're using. So there's a set of workbooks with a teacher book that's specifically made for newcomers to the U.S. Called Ready, Set, Go Newcomers. And I've also established monthly meetings. I told them they were going to get tired of me with the LPAC administrators. So these are sometimes the APs or head principals that focus on EB documentation on the campus level. So we meet once a month just to establish consistency so that we're all speaking the same language, we're all meeting our deadlines, and we're all using the same processes. LPAC procedures, how to use our online platform for recording that, and organizing EB student records. So our example folder on the slide is our new system that we have for paper documentation, because we found that we had some paper things floating around and digital things floating around, so we're going to have both. And so that's a system that we've implemented across all 7 campuses. So that'll follow the students as they move up.
How is Mr. Jose Altuve doing in your class?
He's great. If you look on there, he actually reclassified, so he's doing really good.
For the record, the example folder she has says Jose Altuve on it, so we know he's little, but come on.
Yeah, well, he reclassified, so he's doing really good. Right. And that was my last slide. Did y'all have any questions?
You're doing a great job. I mean, this is so much for one person to jump into, but you've done miracles here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just had a question.
Sure.
Whenever we're looking at our EB students and we deal with our special needs community, how is that reflected in these numbers? Because they're being included in the classes, as far as how the implementation, because obviously having to overcome a language barrier and then also just a learning disability, those pieces, does that play into that? And do we have statistics on that as far as how many of our kids that are in these programs may have a learning disability?
How many are doubly identified?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd have to look. I don't have the number off the top of my head. How many of our students are double exceptional? But I do know that they are out there, and any decisions that are made about them, as far as assessments, classroom accommodations, and things like that. Our LPAC committee, which is like the EB committee on campus, and our ARD committee work in conjunction with each other. And we have LPAC representatives that if an EB is served in the special education, we have to have an LPAC representative in their ARD meeting who also brings that consideration to the table and talks about linguistically how that can affect what they have going on in their classroom. Does that answer your question?
It did. I guess what I was wondering is, do we have the capacity to serve a kid who's listed in both ways, and so that we're able to serve them and having individuals that can be able to help them meet their needs as well?
We do at some campuses have special education teachers who are also ESL certified. And so they are also teachers that are kind of on my list, I'll say, for continuing education and certification, because that's a need everywhere, but yes, that is a special consideration.
Okay. Does anybody have any more questions? Glad you're here in this district. We had our STAR test scores weren't the best, so I really look forward to you working with Sarah and everything she has to help our ESL, because it's really important that we get those up to where they need to be. So look forward to all the hard work, and just thank you for everything you're doing.
Thank you. And actually, since you said that, can I highlight one thing that to kind of shout somebody out on their STAR scores, our EBs? I left it out of my presentation just for time's sake, because I know there's a lot of information that y'all hear. But I looked at our EB, STAR, and EOC scores compared to EBs across the state. And last year, our Algebra 1, our EBs outperformed EBs across the state of Texas by a lot. It was considerable. I don't want to quote the exact number. I believe it was 15-20%.
No, thank you for that information.
I can share that data with y'all to see. I left it off for time's sake, but I did want to shout out that department specifically. They did amazing, and I let Mr. Watts know that as well.
Yeah, okay. On their STAR EOC scores, Brenham High School for that Algebra 1 earned a distinction, which meant out of their 40 schools that they're compared to, they were like in the top.
That's great. I look forward to growth in other subjects too. So
yes, over half of them met on their Algebra 1
That's
EOC.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, next, the Coordinator of Safety and Security, Joe Morkley, will give a safety and security update.
Good evening. Our commitment protecting our students, staff, and community through proactive systems, partnerships, and layered safety measures. With that being said, I would like to introduce Sergeant Sierra Randall, Brenham Police Department, our SRO supervisor, and then she can introduce her team.
Hello. This is Corporal Ortega. He is at the Brenham Middle School. This is Corporal Gibbs. She is brand new. She is currently training here at the high school, and then she'll be rotating out to finish out her training, and then we'll find her home. And then this is Corporal Kasprowitz. He's here at the high school, and this is Corporal Malinowski. She's currently at the junior high.
Thank you. Okay. Commitment to safety. Student, staff, safety remains Brenham ISD's top priority. We continue to review, refine, strengthen safety protocols in collaboration with our local law enforcement, emergency management, and state agencies. Our layered approach focuses on prevention, protection, and preparedness. Maintaining confidentiality. Brenham ISD employs multiple systems, tools, procedures to ensure the safety of all students and staff members. For security reasons, not every measure can be discussed publicly. Sharing specific operational details could compromise the effectiveness of certain systems, provide information that should remain confidential. What we can share is this, is safety is not a one program or one person. It's coordinated, it's layered, it's effort supported by our entire community. Layers of safety and security, we've got the standard response protocols, compliance and training, 3 levels of reporting, and community partnership. Standard response protocols, every campus has posters posted throughout the campus on back of ID cards. It's about hold, lockdown, secured, evacuate, shelter in place, and we make those readily available in case of a time of a high stress situation. Oh my gosh, what do I do? They just called lockdown. Oh, let me look on the back of my ID. Let me look at the poster in every classroom on the wall. It's going to tell you exactly what needs to happen. There you go. Yes, ma'am. And with that being said, we're required by law to do some of these emergency actions monthly, and some where we're not required to do it all per the state. But we take measures and we practice these on a monthly basis, not every one, but throughout the entire school year. One or multiple are being practiced each month. So compliance and training, regular drills, law enforcement coordination, annual safety audits per the TEA and state mandates. Some new bills that were passed down was House Bill 33, which requires each school district to purchase and have on hand a ballistic shield and an entry tool for each campus. Purchased through different vendors across the state, but each office has a ballistic shield, which was required and approved by TEA, and as well as an entry tool. Law enforcement has been made aware of their locations in case of a time of need, not only for them, but for our staff and students as well. And during also training, during the summertime, our partnership with the local law enforcement, they conducted CRACE training, which Citizens Response to Active Shooter or Active Attack training, as well as our standard response protocols. And it was hours of training that they presented to all of our staff members, elementary as well as secondary campuses, on several different occasions at different campuses, which discussed what they need to do, what they should do in time of an emergency situation. They also oversee every campus. Obviously, we have 8 different campuses, and we have 5 SROs up here, so they oversee the coordination of contracted officers, is what we call them, off-duty officers working security at other campuses. As far as reporting, so Brenham ISD has 3 layers of reporting. We have an internal in-house reporting form that anybody can make an anonymous report, and this falls under David's Law, which is required by state mandates. And this is found on our website. They can fill out this form, or click this form, actually what it says, and they can put their information as far as what they want to report. Is it bullying? Is it a mental health issue? Is it a threat of violence, weapons, substance abuse, harassment, intimidation, and so on? Persons, anyone across our district can file an anonymous report, which that report then gets sent not only to me but to other administrators, and it depends on which campus the report is talking about. Then we share that information with the campus administrators, who then will conduct an investigation to mitigate or prevent any crimes, or to prevent bullying from happening. The second layer of, let me back up. Since day one of school, we have had a total of 28 reports come through that anonymous reporting system. Second layer is Crime Stoppers reports. Very similar to anonymous reporting, but that's just in-house. Crime Stoppers is statewide, and persons can get paid for what they report. We have had a total of 10 payouts 16 reports, but only 10 turned out to be fruitful. And with 10 payouts, we paid a total of $665 to persons filing reports that turned out to be fruitful for stuff as far as a fight that campus administrators did not know about, but it investigated and turned out that it was true. Numerous vapes, and yeah, it was vapes in a fight so far this year that were paid out for. And then the third layer is 911 calling, also known as SPAT, Silent Panic Alert Technology. And that is on every district phone, every classroom, every administrator's office, maintenance shop, transportation, where any staff member or student has been trained, and there's even a little card that gives instructions on how to push it. In case of an emergency, they push one button, and that message is then sent to our local dispatch, and it's an automated message saying, send help to Brenham High School, room 202. That will notify every law enforcement agency, every first responder, EMS, fire, sheriff's office, obviously the PD, and they're all going to respond to this location to help out the person that pushed the button.
Yeah, any questions about that? I don't know that we spent a whole lot of time talking about that until now, but that was a huge initiative. Dr. Collick, you and your team taking that on and getting that done so that that access is in every classroom, every phone, every office across the district. That red button, right? That you would push in case of an emergency. So again, that was a huge task to take that on and get all that done. So we appreciate that.
Is there a button or something in this room?
There's
Just
not a
a
phone
phone.
in here,
Okay.
no ma'am.
Okay.
But there are quite a few law enforcement officers here with us today, so I feel okay.
I'd like to talk more about additional things, layers that we're doing for the safety of our campuses, and we are proud to announce that we're going to kick off Watchdogs, Dads of Great Students. Anybody, do y'all know what that is? Okay. So it was in the district years ago, faded away. We're bringing it back. But what is Watchdogs for our people at home? Watchdogs, Dads of Great Students, is a family and community engagement educational initiative. There are two primary goals of Watchdog program: to provide positive male role models for students, demonstrating by their presence that education is important; to provide extra set of eyes and ears to enhance school safety and security and reduce bullying. Watchdogs began in 1998 in a single school in Arkansas and has since grown into a nationally recognized program that has brought hundreds of thousands of fathers and father figures to schools' classrooms, hallways across the country, creating millions of hours of in-school volunteer time and having a tremendously positive impact on an educational process. Some of the benefits is student gain positive male role models, schools gain an extra set of eyes and ears. The presence of a father or father figure will provide an additional deterrent of bullying, enhancing a sense of security and building, and help create an environment conducive to learning. There's no annual fees. Fathers get a glimpse of their students' everyday world and learn about the increasingly complex challenges and decisions today's youth are facing. As a result, they can learn to relate better to their student and connect with them. Fathers gain a greater awareness of positive impact that can have on their students' life in three critical areas, including academic performance, self-esteem, and social behavior. It goes on and on. It's a great program. I've had so many, I've read so many positive things about it, have not heard one negative thing about it, but it is going to help our community in a whole, open our doors in a right, positive way to our parents so they can see the inner workings of our school and be part of their students' life. That
Joe,
is, yes, sir.
I'm super excited about that Brenham ISD is doing this. I had it when I was in school. I actually made friends with a lot of the watchdogs. They were great mentors for me growing up, and I think it's fantastic that we're doing it. One question that I had is, I don't remember, do the men that volunteer, do they have to be current parents, or can they be grandfathers?
Yes,
or
they can
uncles?
be a parent, a father, a grandfather, an uncle, a male positive impact of a student's life.
Right.
They can participate. They will have to go through our in-house training as well as the watchdogs training. Now, this program has been in effect since 1998. They've done everything from A to Z. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. We're just going to follow what's already in place. Later this week, we'll send out some information to all the parents if they want to participate, and there'll be a timeline. We'll have a pizza party. We'll talk about the program more, and we'll we'll train the father figures that want to participate. That way they can start coming into our schools and be a positive impact. With that being said, this is one of the shirts, a style of a shirt they'll be wearing. Very instinctive, has a patch on the front, and it says Watchdog on the back. They will have to check in. They will be considered a volunteer for our school district, so that's volunteer training they have to participate in. Parents or father figures, they will have to purchase their own shirt. So, be a good program.
Thank you, Joe.
Yes. Any questions for us?
Anybody have any questions? Before y'all leave, I know y'all have had a very long day. Sorry for putting y'all at the back of the agenda, but we really appreciate y'all staying and just being here because we know y'all's presence with the kids every day. So y'all have just as much impact on it as the teachers do. So especially a positive impact from what they see, how they see law enforcement officers whenever y'all are there with them. So really appreciate all the hard work. Next, we have the consent agenda. We can pull any item or approve it as it is. But before we do this, I wanted to point out 16B, election service agreement between Austin County and Brenham. We already have one in place for Washington County, but because some of our kids are in Austin County, we also have to have one with Austin County. We should have done it before, so that's why we're doing it now. But it's just because we have kids in Austin County, so we already have one for Washington County.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Kelvin Raisington has made a motion, seconded by Justin Colley, to approve the consent agenda as presented. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have monthly reports for information purposes. And then an executive session will be held for the purpose authorized by Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code Section 551.071, consultation with attorney, and 551.074, personal matters. The Board of Trustees went into executive session at 8:08 p.m. according to the Texas Open Meetings Act, the Texas Government Code, Chapter 551.071, consultation with attorney, 551.074, and personal matters. All final votes, actions, and decisions will be taken in open meetings. That's it. It is 8:49. Executive session is finished, and with no further business before the